Hey, it's me, JP, with Ro, and this is episode number 8 of the History, Myths, Tales, and Legends of the Dogs of the Chase in Doggerland and the Dogs of the Chase in Exile, by order of the great, high, and humble Dogger. May he rest in peace. A couple days ago, I was with Ro at the park, playing frisbee and talking about the great project, like we do, when a tawny coonhound with fancy white spotted socks ran up to us like a crazed fan. "Roo!" she howled. "Roo! Roo!" Well, this was too much. My Ro de la Rue Swanzor is a pensive soul who needs time to warm up to strangers, and her eyes told me everything I needed to know. Call them the eyes of entreaty, if you will, or the eyes of exit, whatever. You should understand, Ro wants me to be clear about this, because, she says, it's much too easy to make a plethora of unwarranted inferences from a posture, glance, or situation, and she hates to be mired in misapprehensions. That she is friendly. She loves to play. She's delighted to be in the company of dogs. In short, she is part of the chase, despite her unique place within it. And someday we'll have to get into what the chase actually is, because it's easy to imagine it as a simple pack of baying dogs running after quarry like every fox hunt picture you've ever seen, but it's way more than that, even though maybe most dogs are content to run down the deer or the raccoon or whatever the prize is finally supposed to be. You could say Ro is a service dog of sorts, I suppose. Anyway, we'll talk about that later, because I'm not sure I understand everything. She told me just now, with all the gravity and directness of the aspect of her personality I sometimes call reality Ro, that I am myself, personally, a part of the great project, not simply its human advocate. So again, I have to say I don't get it, and she says never mind, just get on with the story. So here goes. Remember, Ro and Urf were questioned by a dog named Y till the conversation was interrupted by a heedless scramble of dogs straight through Y's quarters, which were supposed to be out of the way enough that Y could rely on their inviolate privacy. When Y, who was one of the big noses of the time, gave chase, intending to discipline that gang of trespassers, Ro and Urf slouched away, having surmised that she would summon them again if more questions needed answering. They headed in opposite directions after taking leave of each other, since the day had turned humid, and even the least noses could smell impending showers likely to last through the next morning. The common areas had filled with dogs who would ordinarily have been outside accomplishing the work that created and enhanced the wealth of the chase, the comfort of the dens. The common plenty is a fair translation. Ro and Urf had to acknowledge many of their acquaintances and friends as they nosed through the spaces where dogs lounged. In a few places they stopped to yap, to wrestle, to gently bite and paw and sniff. On such days when the outdoor work of driving game, checking nets, harvesting fowl could wait, would have to mostly wait. Usually games were organized, and just about every dog joined in the fun for at least a while. Ducks in baskets is just one example. Ro and Urf had won some recognition for being able players. Just like it sounds, each team is assigned several sets of ducks caged in spherical baskets that they need to find in order and then hang from hooks in one of the banquet rooms. And sometimes there were scent clues. Sometimes it was more like a flat-out rough-and-tumble race. Each version of the game required a different strategy, so it's complicated. But, basically, find your duck baskets and hang them up while hindering the progress of dogs from other teams in doing the same. So, when Ro and Urf didn't show up to play, plenty of the other participants noticed. Their team wondered who among them would be able to leap duck basket in mouth to the hooks that, on that occasion, were strung above the river on ropes that curved between poles, a bit like our power lines. And by the time Ducks in Baskets was well begun, Ro and Urf had found each other again at a rendezvous point in a deep tunnel, and they were loping toward the bottom of Doggerland as fast as scent and vision would allow, without a thought between them for the fun going on in the den above, or for wise questions, or for the cats who had originally urged them there. Rue is convinced that the cats were watching, though she allows no dog has ever made a compelling proof of it. She explains the cave lions were as savvy and sinister as any creature alive. Murderous, she says, bloodthirsty and treacherous. She goes on for a fair while if you encourage her. They were the most intelligent of felines, Rue says. Your dumb Frankie doesn't compare. No house cat does. Admittedly, that's no surprise. Ro and Urf said they never saw the cave lions again after the first time, but the reports of certain noses of note conflict with that account. They chewed the roots that clung to the walls down there as if they were starving. The cavern echoed with their giddy howls. When they wanted more, they dug fervidly, pulling and tearing, putting their necks and shoulders into it, flinging dirt behind them in double pawfuls. It was awful. Behind them, the piles of fresh dirt grew high and wide as Ro and Urf tunneled, following the roots that tasted sweeter and more satisfying as they increased in age and thickness, gnawing ever closer to an ancient, unreachable trunk. Ro finally succumbed to an ecstasy of sorts. He ran circles at top speed till he fell asleep in a bank of soft soil. Urf watched and answered with more dogged munching. Hundreds of feet above, and some fair distance to the north, it was morning again. Late morning, the sun was over the treetops when Urf shook off his trance. His fur was wet on the side he'd lain on. He sneezed to clear his nostrils of dirt, then nudged Ro awake and barked it was time to go. We'll show up separately like we left, Ro said. I'll go first. You go up the lake shore to the bridge, then come, answered Urf. Say you were after birds. You found a hollow and slept out of the rain. What will you say? Ro asked. Something else. Better you don't know. At that, they separated, looking at one another with heads low, their legs and tails full of trouble. I should point out now that I've come to a good stopping place for this episode that while Rue is telling this story to me and I'm a grown person, I'm writing it down in such a way that it can be enjoyed by kids. Not little children, kids. So if my Rue say that a dog was injured and describes the injury to me in some detail, I'll just tell you the basics of it, okay? And if she relates some complicated idea to me in long, furry sentences that are hard to understand, my plan is to make them simpler. Those are just a couple examples of the sorts of things I'm going to keep chill so younger people can learn about the chase. It's also one of the commands given me and Rue by Wile E., the great high and humble dogger. May he rest in peace. When he ordered us to begin this telling of history, myths, tales, and legends in pursuit of the great project. We hope you're learning tons about dogs, and I wish I could tell the stories faster. We only have so much time in a day. At this pace, it'll take a century to cover the accumulated dog lore of millions of years. So maybe we'll skip a million here and there, eh? Episode 9 is coming, and Rue says it's almost sure to reveal, if you haven't figured out already, just exactly how Doggerland got a hole in it, filled up slowly with water, and capsized in the Storega tsunami. So watch for it everywhere. RueTube, the Facebook page of The Chase, the Book That Eats People Facebook page, Instagram, and obviously just about everywhere you can find podcasts. I'm JP with Ro de la Rue Swanzor on behalf of the great project of the Dogs of the Chase in Exile by order of the great high and humble Dogger. Did I say thanks for listening? Thanks for listening.